Hello and welcome back to art class. Today we are going to start a new project. Our new project is going to be a self-portrait project. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over some of the important basics to getting a more realistic look of a person, or in your case, a self-portrait. You're going to need a few things to do that. You're going to need eraser, pencil, and if your pencil has an eraser, that's fine. You're going to want a piece of paper. If you want to do a half sheet of paper, that's okay. So like in this one, I folded it so I would have half here. That is an option. I am actually going to do it on a full-size piece of paper here. I'm going to make it very large so it's a lot easier for you to see. Then the other thing you may want is going to be the iPad, because you have access to the file that I have made for the steps for doing a self-portrait. Some people may find doing it through the video a little bit easier. Some people may find it a little bit easier just to kind of go as I'm showing it through the step-by-steps, page-by-page kind of a thing. Okay. You can use your stand, keep that off to the side, things like that. I'm going to put mine off to the side, and I want to go ahead and get started. So, with self-portraits, one of the things you need to know is the very beginning of a self-portrait, doesn't matter if it's male or female, is actually going to be pretty much the same thing. Almost all people have the basic shape that is very similar. The placement of the basic features is also very similar. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. As we go, I will point out things that could change. This is going to take a couple of weeks, so we're going to go to a certain point and then stop, and then we're going to next week continue on, and then it'll probably be a 3-week project. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing is, if you're going to use a full sheet of paper, your head is not going to be the same exact size as the whole paper, but I do want it to be fairly large. So the basic shape that you're looking for, and I recommend kind of sketching this out or drawing lightly. I'm going to end up doing it dark enough so you can see it through the camera. Is you're going to want an egg shape. It should be smaller on the bottom and a little bit wider at the top. Okay. So it's like an egg. And the basics is your mouth area should be smaller than your brain area. So it's going to take that. And you notice a good size to practice is about the size of your hand. So that kind of gives you an idea. If I actually turn my hand upside down, it kind of gives you that rough sizing. Okay, next thing I want you to do is very lightly, I actually go over this a little bit darker, so you can see it, is you're going to want to draw a line right down the middle. That way your face is fairly symmetrical, so you know that if you do something over here, that it should match over here. That's your first line of symmetry. Then the second thing you're going to do is you need to find about the middle of the head going this way, from top to bottom. I find it a lot easier to turn your paper this way to do this. And that is where your eye line is going to be. Now when you do your eye line, it should hit about the center. And you can even take your pencil and just double check. I'm a little low, so I'm going to move it up a little bit. Just checking, okay, is that the same? That's pretty close. All right, so that's about where the eye level should be. Some people have a habit of putting their eyes way, way, way too high on their forehead, or in some cases, rare, but they'll put them too low. If you do it about the middle, then you're good. So you're gonna mark that, and then you're actually going to need to draw a slightly curved line to that. Because remember, your head is actually a round object, so we need to make sure that things are going the correct way on that. Okay. That's going to be your eye line. Then you're going to need your nose line. Your nose is approximately halfway, the very bottom of your nose is approximately halfway from your eyes to your chin. So again, you can take your pencil and kind of make sure that you're the same. So that one is a little high, so I need to bring it back. That's closer. Okay, and then that's going to have a nice curved line as well, like this. These are guidelines, so they may be adjusted as we need. So eye line, nose line, and then a mouth line. And the mouth is a little bit up from the halfway, so that I can tell is already a little too. Yep, that looks good. And again, that's going to go curved like that. So eye line, nose line, and mouth line. Okay. Need a couple other lines here. One line is going to be the eyebrow line. So the eyebrow line is just a little bit above the eye line, and there's no perfect easy measurement for that. For this size, I kind of have to ballpark it. I kind of ballpark it a little bit less than a finger space, because your eyebrows should be above your eyes. And then the last mark that I'd like to do is where the hairline should start. Where does your hair actually start growing? Not where does it end up, especially for the girls who have long hair, but where does it start growing usually? So again, I will take from the eye line, which is right here, to the top of the head, and I usually divide that in half roughly. And this line is just going to be that. It's just going to be a mark, because people's hairline is very different from each other. There are some basics that we're going to talk about when we get that far, but I just like to at least know where the hair should start growing. Not necessarily where it ends up, but where it starts growing. Okay, this is what you're looking for. And again, if you're following the steps in that file that I lent you, you should be getting to that part. And next, we're going to deal with eyes. Okay? Eyes are usually where people like to start. And you can use the practice side, because again, this is just kind of something that we're going to practice with, so don't get upset if you're drawing off to the side a little bit. I'm going to draw down here at the bottom. Basic eyes are, most of you know, almond shaped or football shaped, depending on what you want to call it. Now, that's not the actual eyeball, that's the eyelids covering up the eye. Okay? Then we have the iris itself, the colored part, and that actually takes up quite a bit of space. So you want to make it pretty much a circle, but it's best if part of the circle actually goes underneath the eyelid. So you want to have an iris that takes up a lot of space and actually goes underneath the eyelid, because if I made this complete circle, it would go underneath the eyelid. And then you can put in the center a pupil. Pupil is the black part that actually opens and closes, allows the light in. Actually, the iris is the one part opens and closes. The hole is the pupil. And I like to shade in lightly around the iris there, just because it looks a little bit more natural that way. Okay. It is usually best to have the eyes looking to the left or to the right slightly. Having them look dead center tends to creep people out quite a bit, because it looks like the picture is staring directly at them, and it just makes people a little uncomfortable. So this is why, if you look, mine is slightly off to the side here, to the right. The other thing I'm going to add is the corner of the eyes. They're not very big, but I do need to add that. Okay. So that's your basic shape. You want to probably practice that once or twice, because it's hard to get them consistent. So the next thing you need to be aware of is how much space should your eyes actually take up, because if they're too big, they look a little alien. If they're too small, it just doesn't kind of work out. So you should be able to fit a total of 5 eyes all the way across your face. That's how many eyes should fit. You should have like a space for an eye here, a space for an eye here, a space in the middle, and then an actual eye, and then space inside. So that's how you kind of gauge it. So what I generally do will just lightly sketch out the top of the eye on the top of the line, bottom of the eye here, and then I use my pencil to kind of figure out, could I actually fit an eye on the side? Not quite. And it's actually too far to the side. So I think size-wise I'm close, it's just too close to the edge. So I'm actually gonna move it over a little bit. And I can use my pencil again to quickly measure. Okay. And what's nice is if I just put a dot there, this is about where my eye should be. Then I look, that looks pretty even. And then I can put another dot here. And now I know that this eye should be this wide, and then there should be about that much space. Good, so it worked out. And getting your eyes perfectly even is very difficult, so don't beat yourself up right now about that. We're just getting the basics kind of laid out. Okay, next, while I'm finishing up the eye, I do like to get rid of the line, the guideline that's inside it. And I'm going to have it looking this way. Again, your iris should go under, be round, and like if it was a circle, it'd actually go underneath the eyelid. And it should take up quite a bit of space. We don't want to see this. Let me draw a quick one here. We don't want to see that. That doesn't look right. There's way too much white space there. So get my corners in. Just shade in, kind of a zigzag-ish shading for the eyes. Okay, now obviously if you want a little bit more female eyes, even though guys, this is where the separation between guys and girls, when we draw pictures, girls obviously want to add in longer eyelashes, especially on the top. Guys, even though technically we have eyelashes, it does not make sense for us to have eyelashes in our picture. It just tends to look, makes your picture look a little bit more feminine, and most guys aren't a big fan of that. Okay, next, what I want us to do is focus on doing the nose. Again, if you look at your sheet, it has two examples of noses. They look almost identical. The difference being one is more curved and one is more angular or straight lines. The difference being the curved one is, again, a more feminine look, and the angular one is a little bit more like a guy, what we would consider masculine. Okay? So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for in your picture. Most guys want to have the more angular look, especially if you're thinking like comic books and stuff like that. You'll see it traditionally much more straight lines when you see a guy's face, and much more curved lines when you see a girl's face. The eyebrow starts up here. This is part of your nose, this bridge that happens right up here, that goes above the eye into the brow ridge right up here. And I'm going to do a straight line because I'm a guy. This would be more curved if you were a girl. It's going to come straight down if you're a guy. It's going to, again, curved if it's a girl. Okay. And you're going to have the round part of your nose. And this is not the only way to do a nose for a realistic look, but it is one that most people are comfortable with. Like this, where you have the curved round parts of your nose. You do draw in the nostrils because you have to be able to breathe. And you can shade those in lightly if you're careful. You don't want to make them really dark, even though technically, yes, it should be black, but if you shade too dark, people stare at those instead of looking at the whole picture. So this comes straight down, this is straight. If you're a girl, this curves, and then if you're a girl, you can actually have that curve right into your nostril right there. For the most part, we don't have to draw those both sides. You can. It's very often where people will draw both sides of the nose. I'm more of a fan of a single line on one side. And the biggest reason is because we're not shading, we're just doing a basic drawing. All right, and the last thing I want to do for today is get some eyebrows in. So eyebrows start a little bit below the line of the brow ridge here. And they go a little bit past the eye. They go up and then they come back down. Same thing here. They start in the same spot. Now, they will overlap part of your nose area. Okay? That's normal. And again, it comes to about the same size. So we start off with that nice curved line. It goes up and over. Now, everybody's brow ridge is a little bit different. Some are much higher than others. Some are a little bit lower. It depends on your eyebrows. Guys, your eyebrows tend to be a little bit thicker. And I just use back and forth marks, especially right here. You get it thick, and then it gets thinner towards the edge. And for right now, I'm just going to use shading for this. Pencil shading. So this is just going to be a pencil drawing for right now. Girls, you may have thinner eyebrows. Again, girls tend to do a little bit more work on their face than guys do. Guys just kind of wake up in the morning and show up to the job or to school or whatever. They don't do anything. Girls, you have a tendency to do a little bit more work, in the morning prep than guys do. All right. And I think this is a good place to stop, is to get this part, because to be honest, to work this shape and get the lines in place and then work on the eyes, that takes a bit of practice. And don't worry if you have like this whole side part here or even the back filled up with practice stuff trying to get it right. That is totally fine. Okay? Once you're confident, then you go in and do your sheet here. We will be doing another version of this, but I need you to get really comfortable with just doing a person. So get this far for this week. So the shape, all the lines, the guidelines, and the nose, eyes, and eyebrows. Again, if you're a girl, you want to make sure you're adding your eyelashes and making sure your nose is a bit more curved than the guy's one. Okay? All right, now I'll take a photo of it, upload it and to Google Classroom, and I will see you next week.